You know, I started this podcast, my original episode, when I was in a funk. I'm kind of feeling that way again. And you know what? Let's actually talk about it because I feel a lot of people have a tendency of not talking about when they're in a funk. Let's talk about it. Before I go on, and I know this is going to be the hook to stay until the end of the video, but please do, because at the end of the video, I try to give a certain routine for people to be able to put them in a better mental state. Ever since I have a routine in the morning, I have a routine in the evening. Ever since I've been doing these routines, they've been very helpful for me. And I kind of want to see if that helps you too. It's literally 5 minutes out of your day. It's not like crazy. It's not that intense. It's just a simple thing. If you can do it, if you like it, continue it and see if that helps you along the way or even add to it. So stick around for that and hopefully it helps out. Give you a little background on myself. I have a full-time job. I'm thankful I get to work from home. I do stream. I do content develop. I do make content for YouTube. I do shorts. I do TikToks. I do more short form content for YouTube than anything, not necessarily any more long form. And I have my eFed, in which I have to do a lot of stuff on the back end to be able to put on a good show every week. Today has been one of those days where unfortunately work has taken me away from my streaming schedule, and it's going to do the same thing for tomorrow and Wednesday. So by the way, to give you a little reference, it's October 24th right now is when I'm recording this episode. This usually at times has a tendency of putting me in kind of a funk, and the reason why is because it takes me away from developing content. Now this episode was going to be about something completely different. As a matter of fact, it was going to be about funks, and I was going to kind of approach it in a different way, but I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? Instead of approaching this in a way where, you're talking about it in general, why don't we talk about it because you're feeling it right now, and how you feel, and how it makes you go through it, and, what helps you type of thing. And I hope that what helps me may help every one of you who are listening or watching the podcast. Because when you're in a funk, it's not that you're feeling burnt out. It's not that you're feeling that you don't want to make content anymore. It's one of these situations where you just cannot get a creative approach to develop something. And the biggest issue that for myself, whenever I'm in a funk like this, I have a bad tendency of going to somebody else's channel or seeing who's streaming and going on there and seeing how well they're doing and seeing their numbers and seeing their product and seeing their graphics and seeing how well they look and how this looks and how that looks and how well they sound and so on and so on and so on. And what kills me the most is there's many times where I tell people to not do the comparison game, but I'm guilty of that because it's not something that you can just easily stop. It's always going to be present there. Because it's very simple to go to someone else's channel and just see what they're doing and see how well they're doing it and how it works. Even with Twitter, you have Twitter up and all of a sudden you're going through your feed and you're seeing people doing community events and this and doing that and doing this. And all of a sudden you're like, I don't know where I'm going with this. That's kind of where I am right now. And it's something that I'm going to get over. I've been in God knows how many funks, God knows how many times. It's not new to me. I have ways around getting through this, but I want people to know that if you ever feel this way, you're not alone. This happens to almost every single one of us. And if it hasn't happened to you, that's great. Congratulations. But I'm going to be honest with you, it may happen down the line. But sometimes I think it's just one of these things where your brain just has a tendency of saying, or thinking too much about the whole content development world and streaming and how your channel may not be doing as well as this person's, or how your product may not look as good as this person, or how this, or how that, or how this. It's these type of days where I will tell someone, listen, if you are going through a funk, if you have this day where you just cannot focus, you cannot work on your product, you don't want to work on your product, then take the time, take the day, and just stop. Play a game for yourself. Go outside for a walk. Do a simple workout for yourself. Do something for you. Because as much as some people want to just keep getting content out like this, and this, if you're feeling in a funk and you still force through it, then you're working your way to a burnout. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people should ever go towards, because all of these successes you can make in developing certain X amount of content and then going to a burnout right afterwards, you're going to negate all of that. And because all of that is a lot of new people that have come into your product and they've not necessarily fully connected with you, there's no reason or there's no rhyme to them being there or sticking alongside you, because they're like, well, they're not doing this anymore, so I'm going to go over here. I talked about that in my last episode because guess what? It's very true. It's very true. Being in a funk is not necessarily a horrible thing, because sometimes being in this type of mentality could mean that you actually come up with a lot of great stuff. If you take the time for yourself and you just kind of do your own thing and, take the time to relax your brain a little bit, sometimes you can come up with some amazing ideas just by being in a funk. There's always a positives to this negative. My biggest thing is don't ever let this funk be the purpose and the reasoning why you decide to question everything you've done. This is a temporary holdback. This is the way that I always look at it. It's a temporary time where your brain says, hey, let's take it easy for today. And I say follow it. If you have to cancel stream, cancel stream. There's been people online who have given this, in my honest opinion, horrible tip of never cancel stream. Never do this. Never be inconsistent with your schedule. And I get where they're going with that, because it's true. In the content development world, you have to remain consistent. You have to be consistent to be able to see the numbers there, to be able to see the people coming in, and so on and so on. You are a show in a way. You are someone that if you're able to be consistent enough with your hours, you're able to get people coming and be like, oh, it's this hour this person's on. But also the mentality of never do this, never do that, never do this, never do that. It's not perfect for someone, because if you're in a funk or you're feeling bad about your product and you're feeling this, and then all of a sudden you go back to those tips and say, well, I can't cancel this, or I can't cancel the stream because this person says it's going to be bad for my product, but I'm not really in the mood to do it, but now I'm forced to do it and I'm not going to have the best time doing it, and so on and so on. Do you see where that's going? It's not a good advice. I'm going to say that right now. It's not good advice. If you need to take the day for yourself in this heavy mental health world, take the day for yourself. If you're feeling in a funk and you just cannot focus, I'll be sincere with you guys here right now. This is the 5th time I am recording this, because all the other times I have recorded a podcast, in this episode specifically, I've gone on another tangent and I've completely lost track of where I was. And I think the reason I decided to stop that and just say, listen, focus on how you're feeling right now, is because I'm all over the place. Specifically, if I'm trying to work on a product right now, when I'm feeling this way, my brain is going to go all over the place and I cannot focus on something. So this is why I'm taking the opportunity right now to be very sincere with you guys. When you're in a funk, don't force it. Take the time for yourself. Take the time to remember why you started doing this in the first place. I look at the 6 gold medals that I have from Extra Life for when we did charity events for Sick Kids Foundation. I look at that and I'm happy to see how much we've achieved and how far we've come. I look at this painting that was done behind me here. That's a diamond painting that was done by one of my moderators. I look at that and I see that that person took time out of their days to make that for me, because I provided them with a certain value that they enjoy and they cherish, and they decide to pay me back with that. And I appreciate the hell out of that. When I'm in a funk, these type of situations and these type of items help me get out of it. And it's something that many of you can also find something around the house, whether it's a family photo, whether it's pets, whether it's just in general, whatever it is that you find enjoyable or puts a smile on your face. That's always the most important part. Find something that can put a smile on your face, because that is what's going to help you get out of this rut. It's always going to happen, regardless of what you make, how you make it, regardless if you're on YouTube, regardless if you're on Twitch, on Facebook, whatever it is. There's going to be moments where you are in a rut. There's going to be moments where you just don't feel like doing it. There's going to be moments where you just feel exhausted and content creation is not really the first thing on your mind. Or you look at someone else's product and you're jealous in how much content they're getting out or how much of this that they're getting out. Always remember that there's always two sides to every story. Someone who does this for a full time has more time on their hands to be able to output content on a regular basis. Whereas someone who works full time and streams may not have that accessibility or have a family at the same time and have a child at the same time. Every one of us is always different when it comes to our schedules. So don't put yourself down if you cannot match what somebody else is able to do. Because that right there is going to put you in a funk because you just do not have that accessible time. So you're comparing literally something you cannot keep up with. And that's something that I think people don't think about when it comes to the comparison game, is you really focus too heavily on trying to match what somebody else does in hopes that you can also get that accreditation that they've received. But in all reality, your time does not allow it. Your time does not allow you to spend 8 to 10 hours a day at a PC cutting your streams down into God knows how many clips. It's difficult. I'm not saying that's impossible, but it's also very difficult. And the biggest thing that I always try to negate, specifically from a streaming point of view and a content development point of view, or just in general, a mental health point of view, is that burnout phase. Once you hit that phase, there's no going back other than stopping for a while. I have seen a lot of great large streamers who have had to do that because they've gone ham for God knows how long. And it got to a point where every single stream, they're exhausted, they're not having fun, they're not enjoying themselves, they don't enjoy the product, they don't enjoy communicating, they don't enjoy doing anything afterwards or before stream. They have a hard time going live. That go live button is extremely anxiety ridden. Like, there is so much a part of that that you don't want to get to. So if you ever feel like you're in a funk, one, you can happily reach out to me because it happens frequently. Find people that are there to support you. Find people that are there to help you. Speak to somebody that can put a smile on your face. Find something that can put a smile on your face regardless of what it is. Try to make the day for you alone. Don't force content creation. Don't force this. Don't force that. I know you guys are looking at this and be like, but you did this episode. I did this episode, but I'm talking more realistically to you rather than, oh, hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Let's see if we can get through this day. Yay. No, I'm literally here speaking realistically with you. And for those of you who know me, you know that I'm someone who has a tendency of talking very quickly. I'm somebody who's very energetic. I'm somebody who's very outspoken. But today is very different. I'm very mellow. I'm not talking fast. I'm literally being upfront with you guys on saying that I'm in a funk right now because of work is taking me away from something I'd like to do for the next few days. And even today, like, I had to cancel stream because of work. But the thing is work is what puts food on my table and a roof over my head. So that's my priority right there. Streaming doesn't. Streaming is nice to have us kind of kick around here and there, but it's not priority for me. So that always will take priority for me. So I always want to say is that if you are in a funk, you are not alone. This is not a feeling that you will always feel by yourself. You are going to have hundreds, if not thousands of people who feel very similar way as you do as well. Be able to take the day for yourself. Take the day to relax your mind. Take the day to take it easy. And if you feel bad because you're not streaming or you're not making this or not making this, you got to tell yourself that you're doing this so you don't get to a worse state. And that's what I want people to understand. If you feel this, if you start feeling like you're in a funk, address this at that point in time. If you need to take day off or two, take those days off. Don't kill yourself because you want to achieve a certain number, or down the line, if you go into a burnout phase, that number is going to get negated. So don't kill yourself and don't drain your mental state for the purpose of trying to reach a number that hopefully will stay, fingers crossed. Always focus on you because no one else will. Always focus on your mental health because no one else will. Always focus on your well-being because no one else will. And that's all I have to say. Now, I said I'm going to give you something by the end of this episode. I give you a task. My last task I did in my other episode was saying, hey, take the time every morning you wake up to make your bed. It's a very ridiculous thing to ask for. However, as someone who's done that, I see the value in it. It's always nice to go into my bedroom and see the bed already made up. It's clean, it's nice. My cats always sleep into it, goddamn them. But it's always nice to see everything clean and nice and organized. And I tell people, hey, if you want, do the same thing as well for the week. If you have, let me know in the comments. Let me know how it felt. This week, though, I have one simple task I want you to do. And it's a physical task. Every morning, after your coffee, or when you're ready during the day, if you're not someone that likes to work out, all I want you to do is to do 10 push-ups every day for 1 week. Now, I'm not asking you to do the most intense, most craziest, aggressive push-ups that you'll ever see in your life. I don't know why push-ups are aggressive, but we'll figure that out. You can go on your knees, you can be on your toes, it doesn't matter. All I want you to do is I want you to do 10 push-ups. If by the end of the week and you've done all the push-ups on your knees, I want you to do one thing. Do 1 or 2 push-ups on your toes. And for those of you who are doing the push-ups on your toes throughout the week, I want you to do one thing. Give me an extra rep or 2. And I want you to keep doing that because it's progressive. You're progressing to a certain goal. You're progressing to a certain type of functionality is what you're trying to do. Guys, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for just hearing me out. If you guys have felt this way, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what works for you. As a matter of fact, let me know what works for you when it comes to being in a funk. And for those of you who are in a funk, look at the comment section and see what helps people, because not everything is always going to help everyone. Some people can do things where it may not be really assistant to somebody else, but otherwise it can be to you. So check there, get some ideas, see what can help. If you ever want to, feel free to reach out to me as well. As I said, I know I'm somebody who's in the same boat. I've been in funks. I am in one right now. That's why I'm taking the day to myself to work on work and just do something to relax my mind. But take the time for yourself, and don't be ashamed of that. Don't ever be ashamed to take the time for you, because in the end, if you don't, then who's going to? I love you all. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and remember to go live and be proud of it.